Okay, so happy to have you all here, and I'm going to explain what happens here before we begin. I'm going to be channeling, receiving information from my guides, from my spirit guides. I'm Wilhelm, and it's going to be something that will relate to everyone who's here, because that's the only reason that you're here, and you will understand that. And they told me to start with something. With every session, I am given instructions about what I'm supposed to do, And today they told me to have a particular message on the screen that you will each understand and that you will relate to, and you'll understand what's happening in your life right now, and you'll understand why you're here. That's what's going on. Okay, so, and I think in the end, we will be able to have, let's see if I can, I think most people are here now. The others I know are waiting for the replay, so it's good. So if somebody comes in later, we'll let them in. And unless somebody wants to be I don't think anybody will be the co-host. That's all right, no worries. At the end, there's an opportunity for questions. And so all you have to do is unmute yourself if there is a question that you have or something you want addressed. And so what I'm going to do is share the screen. So we have this particular message on for you. And then I will begin, because I have gotten into a state where I am receiving a bunch of stuff. So it'll be fun. We're so happy to have you here. And again, we are meeting you at the perfect time in your life, no matter when that might be. And also, for those of you who are not here in person, please understand that we are speaking to you, because there are two in particular that we need to give you some information that is going to help you move through this current period in your life and that of your world in a much easier way. You see that we have on the screen a message that we told Roger we wanted you all to see. Now, you could go to our site, anyadvicefortoday.com, and you will see that there are many of those messages there that reflect that sentiment, meaning that it takes time for each of you to understand your purpose, your importance, and why you're here on the earth. And we mean that very in those words, because you came here to accomplish something. Now, it's something different than anyone else, and that's why you might have been confused for a good portion of your life. You each, as we have said many, many times through these talks, you each are on an individual evolutionary journey. You are doing something different than anyone else has done it, because no one has your makeup. No one has your personal DNA, as we've talked about before. It's made up of something different. So as you're moving through your life, you're encountering things that are meant to remind you of why you're here. You don't have any memory of that, because you came to do something new. But what we're talking about now is this is the time that you were waiting for that message that is on the screen to be realized. This is the time, and each of you know that you've done this. There's something within you that you've held back, that you didn't trust it, you didn't know if it was real, you didn't believe it, all of that. And you've done that for a lot of your years. That's why you're here. You see, you never end up in places accidentally. You only make moves or do things that you're being guided to do, even beyond your awareness, even though you don't know that is what is occurring. As we've told you, we're using Roger as an example. Because you each will relate, because part of this whole restructuring that your world is going through is to cause more of you to understand your oneness, to understand your connection to all that is, your connection to you. As we have said, there are no hierarchy of souls. We've said that forever. But this particular time in your world's transition, you're doing a big shift of this hierarchy. In other words, you're breaking it down. Those who have been in power, you're changing that a bit. And those of you who are here now and listening to this are accessing more of that. That's just how it goes. As we've said, you've come in many times and you do different jobs. The job that you came in this time, and this is for each of you, and we know that it is for you. The job that you came in to do this time is to continually move into owning who you are, continually moving into those places that you've denied, that you've resisted. And again, we're using Roger as the example because that's how you find your teachers. You find those in front of you who have exhibited, who have done something that you can gain from. And that's how Roger has used his life. You see, because he held back on all of these things forever. Now, we're going to give you a story, and we want to tie this together because, as you know, in every session that we've given you, we've taken you back years and years and years to pull things together so that you see that your lives unfold in manners that get you to understand why you're here. But sometimes you have to look back to put together the pieces, but you always do. We're saying that because you've been here many times, you've done this before. And so you have these remembrances, if you will, of things that start to show up in your life. And they're cues to tell you, to help you realize that you are doing something that is meaningful, that it's important, even with your resistance. And that's what it is, because each of you have had a bit of that. You didn't trust that you were the person to do it. You didn't believe that you could really achieve that goal, that dream, but you can. But the thing is, you wanted to do it now. Now, we will also say that some of you will hear this and decide, okay, I'm hearing this and I'm going to go for it. Others of you will think, no, I can't do it yet. And we're saying that as well because you can't judge yourself. Whatever is right for your life journey, for your evolutionary journey, is when you will act. Some of you will hear it and act now. As we told you in several sessions back, Roger heard information in 1987. He tried to ignore it. He definitely ignored it because that's that part of you, we're speaking to you, that part of you that you could not accept, that you couldn't believe, even though you were feeling it, you were hearing it, but somehow you couldn't get yourself to believe or access that. Now we want you to let go of your judgment about that because that's exactly what you were supposed to do. That's exactly what you were meant to do. See, because if you came in and if you knew everything, you couldn't evolve. You couldn't expand. Your soul would not know that you had accomplished anything. We know that you only look at your life, this physical life, from the time you were born to the time that you live your physical body. There's so much more than that, and that's called your soul. So you're on your soul's journey right now. That's why some of it you don't understand, and some of it doesn't make sense, and some of you are working through different elements that no one else has had. And we say that because all of you now are working through ideas and beliefs and limitation. Every single one. Now you're doing it in different ways and in different areas, but it's all the same thing. Because as your world evolves, not just you as an individual, but as your world evolves, it does that by the individuals deciding to evolve. That's exactly what it is. You're all the same. You're all part of this makeup. And as we've said, no one came in with anything more than you. However, you must give yourself permission to own your journey because your journey is going to look a little different than everyone else's because you're working through something with your ancestral makeup that you can't really figure out. It's there. You can probably see a little bit of it through your families and your parents and all of that, but there's so much more than that. And you're doing that in your world now. That is what is occurring. And the divisions that you have seen in your world are being witnessed by you because you decided to heal those divisions within yourself. That's exactly what's happening. You are not seeing anything that exists outside in your world that is not happening within you. But it's also a very good thing because you came here to make a change. You came here to help bring things together in a new way. And the only way you're going to accomplish that is if you start to bring things together within you. And that is what is occurring now. We're going to give you this story because we set these things up so that you develop a little more belief, let's say. Last week, we had a wonderful guest here. Her name was Kathy Eldon, and we're going to speak her name because this is an important part of this whole transition that you each are moving through. Now, Kathy Eldon had this wonderful son, Dan Eldon, who was murdered in Somalia in 1993. It was traumatic. It was truly traumatic, but she decided that after she let go of her grief, which is what a lot of you are doing, when she let go of her belief that somehow she did something wrong, which she had not, then she created this wonderful organization that has made a shift in your world that is yet to be realized by all of you. But it is happening and it is large. And so yesterday, Roger decided to attend her event, which was the celebration of her son's birthday and the creation of this center. Unbeknownst to him, we had him show up there, which he didn't know why he was doing it, so we could give him this memory to help each of you understand how you are now uncovering parts of yourself that you left behind. In 2009, he was doing what you have done. Roger was resisting moving into that next portion of his life. He was trying to hang on to it. He was trying to hang on to that old self, just as you have done. And you're doing it now a little bit. And now you have to let that go, you see? And so we want to make this point. So in 2009, Roger was trying to hang on to this old thing, this old life, this old him. And we said, no, please let that go. He couldn't. So then someone said, well, you need to meet Kathy Eldon. She knows everyone in Hollywood. She will help you. You know, those dreams that you each had, those missed opportunities, those times where you thought, oh, if I had only done that, that would have been the opportunity, and I missed that. Oh, you did not. We're telling you this because many of you have that idea that there was some opportunity in your past that you did not take advantage of, and that's why your life looks the way it does now. And that is not true, and we would like for you to stop telling that lie to yourself. It's not true. It happens when it's supposed to, and now is the time. We're saying that because we want more of you to hear it, because we need you to hear that. So as we went through the day yesterday, as Roger sat in this talk, this celebration that was happening, Dan started speaking to him. Now Roger thought, that's crazy. That couldn't be possible. How could Dan be speaking to me? Dan is dead. You see, that's the other limitation that you each have set up. You think that you die and you go away. You do not. Your spirit always remains. No, but Dan was talking to Roger, and what he said was he was pleased that we were all there. He was pleased because he said, now you're catching up. You see, Dan left in 1993. He was 22. But he's made more of a difference than many of us have realized yet. But he's made more of a difference. And so his mother said to him when she was introducing him yesterday, she said, Dan doesn't like to be on a pedestal. And what Dan said to Roger goes, it's true. Because see, if you put Dan on a pedestal, then each of you will do the same thing that you have been doing, and that is denying the difference that you could make in the world. You see, and that difference is only about you owning who you are. Moving into that next part of who you are, that next higher essence of who you are, because it's there. And you each have felt that. And it's scary and it's uncomfortable. And we explained that as well. It's uncomfortable because you become accustomed to what is known. And everything that you want, everything that you've ever wanted only exists in your unknown. So some point you have to step into that and decide that you are going to actualize who you were meant to be. And we're saying that because each of you came in with dynamic purposes. Each of you, it's no difference. Everyone comes in with the equal amount of power. Now you will make distinctions because you think that that will give you power. You see, that's what's going on right now in your world. And we told you that. Everything that is happening now is this argument that you have carried on throughout civilization between love, money, power, and control. That's what you're doing collectively. Now, what you are here to do is to shift the balance. Each of you are here now to shift the balance. And we can say this because not everyone is doing what you're doing. And you know that That's why it's been difficult for you. You felt set apart in some way. You felt that you were different. You didn't have the same ideologies as those other people. You just were somewhat outside of that. But that was purposeful because you were meant to actualize that now. As we have said, you are moving through a huge restructuring. None of you have done this, even in your other lifetimes. We gave you a message the other day that said that we wanted you to understand that. Even though there are many out there in the world are pretending that they know exactly what is happening, you do not, because none of you have experienced it. So it is the greatest unknown that your civilization is known, and you as the spirit, as the soul who can't come in, it's the greatest one that you have known. So yes, you would be a little uncomfortable, and you would have this lack of belief because you walked around most of your life discounting who you were. Now, we're not saying this as a judgment, because that's exactly what you were supposed to do, and that's what we want you to understand. Because many of you are walking around with this judgment on yourselves that you haven't actualized these things. And we're saying, which is why we keep pointing out the time trajectory, your time trajectory, how you are meant to move through your life is different than your age or what's happening anywhere else. Your soul is on a completely different timeline than your physical life here now. Now, what you are seeing and what you have felt, because we know many of you have felt this, you felt uneasy. You felt this urge to move in some new way. And sometimes you haven't even been able to explain it. And some of you have been experiencing physical symptoms that are new, that are different, and that sometimes a little frightening. And please trust those. All that's happening is your body is shifting as well. As you move into a greater portion of yourselves, your spiritual being, or whatever you want to, however you think about it in your terms, you will shift physically. It's all connected. Mind, body, spirit, it's all connected. And we gave Roger another example we want to give to you, because some of you are experiencing those physical things. And a lot of times, most times, it's your resistance. Your disease is your resistance. So some time ago, as we coaxed Roger, we're saying this because we want you to understand it, because you haven't moved into that next place you know you're supposed to go. You cannot judge yourself because it was part of your life path for whatever reason. Judgment does not help you to fulfill that path. It's understanding that will do that. You came to evolve, and sometimes you're not willing to do that. So when we first began with this, we told Roger, you have to speak about this. You have to go and do these talks. He didn't want to do it. He did not want to do it. And then once he stepped into it, he says, oh, okay, what was I resisting? We're saying that because you each have done that. And you will step into this next part, because we're going to keep on staying on your case to do it. And when you step into that next part, the exhilaration that you feel will be mind-blowing, and you'll wonder why you didn't do it before. But again, you will do it when it's right in your trajectory, in your timeline. That's when it's coming about. But you also come onto the earth at a specific time when you know the conditions would be right. You picked a doozy of a time, didn't you? One where you would have weather that was going crazy, and you would have a pandemic and a virus. You would have all these things, and you would have huge division. You have racial division, sexual division, you have all of it. All of it's happening all at the same time. And the reason that it's occurring is because you wanted to be here to help bring it together. And you are that important. And we're saying that because this is also the age where you were meant to do it collectively. Because you know you've been hanging out by yourself and you don't have enough strength, you don't have enough courage, you don't have enough belief, which is why you're here, which is why you've gone to every course you've taken, why you've gone to every coach, why you've gone to every mentor, you listen to all of them, because you're trying to find someone who will finally put within you the belief that you've been trying to find for yourself. That's what's been happening. But we're telling you that you did that for a grand reason. Because this is the most significant shift that any of you have ever experienced. And the things that you are creating now, your world is going to be so appreciative of. You're saying that because each of you are creating a legacy. You think that may not be occurring, but you are. You're leaving it by your actions, thoughts, and deeds. Now, in this particular time, this particular lifetime, each of you came to give something more. You came to offer some love. You came to offer some empathy and compassion. But you didn't see that in the world, so it became difficult because you were the ones who were meant to bring it. But the first place that begins is with you. You must develop that authenticity that we've mentioned, and we're going to keep talking about it. Because see, you've made it up in your society as this buzzword that you're all seeking, you're trying to find it. And we've said to you, it's already there. You've always had it. It's not some secret. But we have given you tools of how to uncover it, how to get there. And the first tool is release your self-judgment. That's all you have to do. And you know when you're judging yourself, you know it, you hear it. Now, we will say this, some of you, because we've worked with many of you, some of you don't hear it because you have created a narrative that will only tell you that you're weak, you're meaningless, you're insignificant, so you've created that so you can't hear it. We took Roger back to 2000 the other night, and we're telling you this story because we want you to understand part of your progression might have included elements like this. He had to write something the other night, and he said, let me go back and find something from 2000. And we're saying that because before 2005 or 7, none of you would have ever heard of any of this because he wasn't going to let you see it, just as you have been holding back your brilliance. We're saying that because there's several of you here who we know. We've seen your brilliance. We've seen your talent. That you're not willing to let go because you somehow still think that it's not valuable enough. That's what's going on. However, you're being pressured to do it now, you see, because there's a greater scheme at work here. For your world to survive, you need to step up to being who you are meant to be. That's it. As we've explained, you come in at different times in your life, and each of you take different roles. Some of you come to be light, some of you come to offer a little bit of darkness. That's it, that you do, and you've done that. So you can't judge them, as we've said, because you've done the same thing. But here, you are here to offer your light, and that is going into who you are, that essence. And you know that. Each of you know that, and you've seen the other people who have no awareness of that at all. And you feel left out sometimes because you know these people have no awareness of that. You are not to judge them. You're not to try to teach them or change them. That's not your job. They are there. They exist in your experience as an example. That's all. They're showing you who you are not so that you can become who you are. Civilizations do that. That's how you've always evolved. You won't do it if you stay in the division, however. And more of you here know that, which is why we said that you are the most important ones here now if your world is to survive. Some time ago, we kept staying on it. We told you that the world that you desire to see is not guaranteed. That's not to invoke fear. It's to invoke some action. And that action is you actively owning who you are. It's gone on for so long that your world has become lopsided, as we've said. The imbalance that has existed for eons, beyond time that any of you know. However, this is an important pivotal moment in your world and in your life. And we just keep trying to get you to understand what this important decision was that you made. Nobody told you when to be born. You did that. You have no memory of it, as we said. But we do want you to know that you didn't show up here by accident. And we will always tell you that because we know you hear it as well. We know that you've heard some of these things that we're telling you today that resonate with your life because that's how you all come together. When you come into the world at each particular time or whatever lifetime, you will congregate with those who are of like mind, who will support your ideas, your ideologies, or whatever that might be. And that's what you were meant to do. It gives you a greater sense of comfort and support. And we've also told you that every time you come in, all of you, the light, the dark, however you want to think of it, the only thing that survives is the light. That's the only thing that survives because that's love. That's caring of all. And each of you has that element within you, and you know that. And it's also been challenging. Some of you also, we will explain this too, because this has come up so much in the last several days. And it's more about those of you who have those close to you who you want them to be different. You want them to try to change or be what you want them to be. You can't do that. You will never do that. Because you've forgotten that they have their own inner direction. They have a soul. Doesn't matter if they're your kids or whoever they are, you each have that. And what we talked about before is that the control that you have each used in your society has been an effort to try to cause you to feel valuable. That's all. See, if you can control someone else and put them down and make them feel terrible, then somehow you've propped yourself up. And that never works. And that's why your world looks the way it does today. But you know that, which is why you're here. Because you came to make this difference. And you also know that the only way you're going to do that is if you move out of the self-judgment that you've placed on yourself, when you move out of the fear and doubt that you've had about what you have. And we're helping you with that because we're going to keep talking about it because we can't help it, because we can see it. We can feel it. And we're also more passionate about it now because some of you are not paying attention to what has been occurring in your world because you've been a little isolated. However, we will keep bringing you the information that you need to know. And that is that you need to step up to being who you are because your light is needed. That's why we keep saying in our messages that some of you read that your light and your essence is needed in the world now. We mean that seriously. See, we can speak to each of you and we can pinpoint that side in you, that benevolent, loving, empathetic, caring side that's always been there, that's been beaten up sometimes too. You felt victimized, you felt taken advantage of, all of those things. The taken advantage of is a good one that many of you have had. You were never taken advantage of. You weren't. You just didn't understand what you were developing. Because see, what you were developing was your empathetic, your nurturing skill, your true self was coming through, your loving self was coming through. To others, it might have looked like you were being taken advantage of, but you knew it was different. You knew you were accomplishing something within you. But we're saying again that you come together at a collective time, which is now, which is to actualize who you are. We will tell you too that Roger thought we were going to take you somewhere else today. He had no idea this, and we're saying this because when we do these sessions, as his assistant asked him yesterday, what's going to come through? He said, I don't know. It's different every time. And it's the same for you. Your life, it's different every time. And you're in that different place now. Some of you are uncomfortable and a little afraid right now. We're assuring you that if you own and step into your essence, you will make that change. The thing that we want you to get, you each have this feeling at somewhere that you're not that important. And we've said that thing that you've had, each of you had this a little bit, oh, I'm going to come in and save the world. And then you doubted it. And then you said, no, I can't do that. I'm not that powerful. That's when you started lying to yourselves. Because you are. One person could do it. Because that power is that power. If you remember, at our last session, we told you all, we began with the message on power, because that's the struggle that your world is moving through now, but you haven't understood the essence of power, as we said. The power is merely energy, and that energy is controlled, directed, and creates by the way you choose to use your thinking, your mind. There's energetic components to your brain, your thoughts that are creating things out in your world. And so when more of you come together with a like mind that you're going to offer, inject this spirit, this likeness of love into your world, wow, what would happen? How things would change. There's another thing as well. We wanted to speak about this because we brought it up last night. Many of you are looking at things now and thinking, wow, things are horrible and nothing is going to ever change. And you have completely forgotten your history, which is why we have Roger study it, you see. Because when you forget your history, you can't see your future because you don't believe that it's going to happen. And it doesn't take much effort, and this effort would cause you to feel a little bit better. I mean, just pick up a history book, go, you have computers, you have technology, do all of these things, and look, how did your world look 500 years ago? You see, because now what you're doing, many of you are placing restrictions on what your world could be because you're looking at what exists now and you can't imagine beyond. We're giving you a bird's eye view of what could be if you decide to create the world that you desire to see. And we're saying that because it's not one person, it's all of you. It's each person. As we've said, we cannot see the weakness that you see in yourself. We just can't see it. We can't see the doubt and the lack of belief. We can't see it. It doesn't exist to us because we know what you were born with. Now, we do not know, we will never tell you your specific path because that's not our job. That's for you. We will give you clues because those clues will cause you to remember. You each have guides that you listen to. You have spirit. You have your Wilhelms, as we said before, that are always there. But you may not have given them permission to speak to you because you didn't give yourself permission to even hear you. That's really what it is. But that's changing. And it only takes a little bit of effort on your part. Each day, moving in that direction. Each day deciding I'm going to own more of me. Each day noticing when I'm saying things to myself that are limiting. Because you have to understand, you're born to move through limitations. We've said that often. You were born to move through limitations. So do not judge yourself when they come up in front of you. That's what you were meant to do. You wanted to do that because you wanted to know that you evolved. If you didn't see an obstacle or a barrier in front of you, would you even do anything? What would be the point? And as we've also said, the fear and the chaos and all of those things that you will experience are existing within you. And it's uncomfortable. Your world is uncomfortable, but what that occurs so that you will do something to become comfortable. You see, you do it individually and then you will do it collectively. But more of you are here now to change many systems in your world. You're here to change them, and it's going to look different. And some of you are doing it in really creative ways. You're combining your talents, and they look different. And that's also why some of you have had trouble, because you said, wait a minute, I have this talent over here. Well, what am I going to do with that? But I have that talent over there. And maybe, which one should I do? You're supposed to do all of them because that's why you were given them. Again, you keep trying to find a mold, so to speak, that you can fit yourselves into. And that is never why you came. You came for autonomy. That's what you came for, meaning that you can operate on your own. You have the self-sufficient power and belief, and that will propel things in ways that you had never known. And you each are at the place in your lives individually. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how old you are, but this moment in your world's history has provided you with the opportunity to make this big shift. And many of you felt it. You've done things recently that you probably couldn't even explain, but you knew it took you out of your comfort zone. That's what happened. One more story, because some of you are experiencing this as well. As we said, the physical things that you cannot explain. There was a friend of Roger's that was just speaking of this, vertigo, losing balance, being dizzy, all of those things. And then we could point it back to post-traumatic stress, Many of you are having that. I want to talk about it. You're having it. Some of it you can't even remember because it's not even from this life. That's okay. Doesn't matter. You're still working through it. But we're saying that because the changes that you might experience in your physical body could be related to that. Could be something that you're moving through that you have not known of. You will do it when you embrace it and not fight it. Even those momentary physical changes that you might be experiencing will resolve themselves as you start to embrace more of you. Everything that we're telling you is only for that purpose, because we know how challenging it is when you are moving into something that's brand new and trying to develop, and that brand new is you. You see, that's where you each are. Think about that. The unknown in your world that you've been afraid of is that unknown in you that you have feared. But we'll tell you, once you step through it, it's exhilarating. And we're going to keep going until that happens, because we have no choice. We really have no choice now, because it's so important, and we know that. Your point of power is in the present. We want you to understand that. You cannot change, create, or do anything other than in your present moment. That's all that it is. So when you think of that, anything that is existing right now, in this moment in time, in this moment, can be changed if you sit and decide, I want the next moment to be different. And how am I going to make that different? Oh, I'm going to think about it in a whole new way. I'm going to use my focused energy, my focused attention, which creates energy, to put it in the direction of where I want my life and my world to go. That's what I'm going to do. That's where we are now. See, that's how we build this new world. That's the restructuring that we've spoken of so often. You're all doing it. You can't miss it. You can't. It's difficult. You can't not notice it. You see it everywhere. But we want you to be a little more joyful about it. We know that's challenging because of the accompanying fear and uncertainty that is there. But this is why we had Roger live his life. You see, you had that as well. You lived your life to offer something to the world. You may not know that now, but you did. Some of you do know it, but some of you wanted to know that. That's where we are. You wanted to do that, but you are. So you have these really divergent parts of yourself that you're trying to put back together. And that's what you're doing. But again, our entire intention, our purpose, is to cause more of you to understand your equalness. How about that? Your equalness to everything that exists. And as you come together with others of like mind, it will be easier. And we're saying that because we had to, again, get Roger to do these, pull them together, because we knew that it was going to be an aid to so many more. You are the same. The reason that Dan came through to Roger yesterday was to point out to all of you that you are now in this place where you can cause this shift in your world that he was attempting to begin to become aware of in 1993. Again, why we use dates, so that you have this sort of idea of the timelines of your own lives. There's not one of you here who has not had a divine plan of your life that we've talked about before. We like using that word because it puts us in this reverence that many of you enjoy seeing, that divine plan that makes it a little more meaningful and purposeful for you, which it always is, just you, that purposeful. But if we give it a title, it makes it a little more important. Because you keep trying to find ways and essence and titles and names you can give yourself to feel important, not knowing that you were just born so important. And all you have to do is decide to be who you are. Now, we will tell you something else. This is all a part of this, because we've been planning this for decades. That's why every time you show up, we say, we're glad you're here now, at this point in your life, because we've been planning it for decades. You didn't show up here accidentally. We attracted you here. That's what happened. And you felt that. You just end up in these accidental places. However, we use the story of Roger again because when he was resisting letting go of his business, back in that 2008, it actually was, he had a different memory. It's 2008 when he was really doing it, but then in 2009, it was over. And the person that he was attempting to get in contact with was Kathy Eldon. But she said, you know, I think this is where you're supposed to go. And what happened was, we want to tell you this because, again, we're breaking down your idea of your missed opportunity. You did not have that. It never happened. Your opportunity is now. See, because in 2009, 10, Roger was introduced to an agent. And this was going to be his entry into the new world with his publication, because they loved what we wrote. They were reading what we wrote. But Roger wasn't ready for that. And so what he did was he made mistakes. Sometimes you guys do that. You know, you make mistakes, you'll screw something up. You call it self-sabotaging. That's what you call it. That's become the big term. Oh, I'm self-sabotaging. No, you're not self-sabotaging. You're just afraid of moving into who you are. That's all. And that's what he was doing. And he was aware of it. But he had justification, you see, as you'd have had. These little things that went on. He discovered later that, oh, well, he made the mistakes because he had this thing called ADHD, which we've talked about. Well, what is that? Oh, it's just a different way of perceiving things. But if he didn't know that he had to do that differently, then he gives himself a title of, oh, I'm really a mess. I can't do this. It's terrible. Nobody wants me. That's what you've done. Instead of understanding that you just had a life that was meant to be lived in a different manner, and you're not going to find that example out there that's going to exhibit you. You were meant to do that. You each came here to present the magnificent being of who you are. Each one of you. There's no separation here. And we're saying that because that's what each of you also came to heal in your world. Not within you, but in your world. A separation. See, because as you come together, so will the world. And we've said that, and we love doing that because that's a concept that you still refuse to completely accept, but you've done that for eons as well. When Jesus came in, we thought, maybe that'll get them. Maybe that will do it. They'll start to see. No, you didn't do that. You just use that in different ways to, again, continue the same thing of fighting between love, money, power, and control. Same thing. And each of you are making some of those choices in your own lives. You know, you can't do the thing that you love because you're not going to have the money. That's the other lie that you told yourself, because that's never true either. Just not true. Sometimes you will use certain things to hold yourself back because you're just afraid. But we want you to understand that that fear was purposeful. We wrote a book about it. That's why we wrote Overcoming Fear. You see, because we thought if we could give you that, you would see that these experiences, you do get through them, but they always lead you to something else. They lead you to understanding more of who you are. They lead you to accepting yourselves more. And again, the division that you might be witnessing is the same that exists within you. And we're not going to stop until we get each of you to start to understand how powerful you are, because you can make such a huge difference. You will. You are that powerful. There's no one who has more. And you've been told this by all of your leaders, except the ones that came before, who were trying to convince you of something else. And they only did that so you wouldn't wake up to the power that you had, you see? You see the game? So if you don't know how powerful you are, then they can somehow prop themselves up and think that they are the most powerful and can control everyone. But you do change that every civilization. You change it a bit, and you're changing it now. But you are the ones who came to to the world, to the earth at this time to offer this big, huge, dramatic restructuring, which means that the way that occurs is when you offer yourself. And offering yourself is again becoming authentic. And you become authentic when you let go of your self-judgment. And we're making it sound simplistic because it is. It's just that you cause it to be difficult because you won't do it all the time. But again, that's part of evolving. You can't judge yourself for that. It holds you back. If you're going to judge yourself for what you haven't done, you're not going to do the thing you want to do. See, because if you judge yourself for what you haven't done, you're giving yourself a new message now, like, I'm incapable. I don't have this. I can't do any of this. That's counterproductive, and it wastes a lot of your time. You are moving to a new area of who you were meant to be. And each of you knows that. You know that. You can feel it. When we say those words, you have the memories. They come back to you. Oh, yeah, I can remember when I was this kid. Oh, wait, remember this thing I put away a long time ago. Last time we told you, or the time before, that you would start seeing synchronicities. They would start showing up so quickly in your lives because your world is accelerating. You are accelerating. The changes that are occurring in your world are faster than you've ever experienced them. That's why everything is topsy-turvy. That's why people are experiencing these physical symptoms that you can't put a name on. You don't really understand. But it's what was meant to occur at this time in your world's history. You just wanted to be here now because you wanted to make a big change. And that big change is going to happen within you. And all the resistance that you felt, it's going to be worth it. You're going to understand it. Because now you'll know the difference. You'll remember where you held yourself back, and then you'll experience the exhilaration when you finally let yourself go. All those things are going to happen. Those are the things that are coming up for each of you. And you came here to do this now. And if there's anything we want you to understand, is how important your existence is in this world at this time. It is, and you will change everything if you believe that. And we're saying that because we do want you to understand that you are coming together. We gave Roger information some time ago about the changes that needed to happen. And again, it was reinforced by the appearance, the hearing of Dan Eldon yesterday. You're meant to bring more together across the world. It's not just your little piece of it. It's everywhere. This is a bigger shift. That's why it's so huge. So Roger decided to bring those people together in different countries. He has several different countries now that he's brought into his experience because he followed what we said. Just do this. He doesn't know how it's going to work at this point, but he knows that's where you got to go. And that's what he's doing. And you do too. You hold back at times because you want certainty before you take a step. Where has that gotten you? You've never done that. To have certainty before you take a step, you're not evolving. Because there's no trust that is built in you. There's no following your intuition that has occurred if you operate in that manner. But what we are saying is that it's a glorious time that you decided to be here now, to be here today, and to listen to this recording whenever you might hear it, because it doesn't even matter. We're saying this because those of you, this happens when you listen to this recording later and you start to hear things that are hitting you. That right time could be a week from now, a year from now. You're going to hear it. Oh, wow, this is making sense to me now. That occurs because your guides are trying to tell you that you've always been on the path. You have a plan, and you just start to see it. It just starts to unfold, and you use your world to cause that to occur. You use your world and everyone around you to cause you to know who you are. That's all that's going on. And as we said, and we want you to remember this, because you can only make a choice. The only choices that you have are between love and fear. And we'll always say that there are no other choices. And the love, when you choose love, you would choose you. You choose honoring yourself. You're choosing to see your brilliance. You're choosing all of that. And when you choose fear, you're thinking you're incapable. You're thinking you can't get it done. You're worthless. Why were you born? That's fear. And it is something that we would never say to you. And it is something your guides would never say. You're the only ones doing that. Your egos have done that, and we're in the process of letting go of the egos collectively and individually. And the ego, as we have explained, is that entity that you have created outside of yourselves that thinks that you're separate from something. You see, but the ego wants you to stay in a box. As we're going to explain this, because this will be a great one for you to look at with the message that we placed on the screen. See, this is why you were running. Because you developed this ego that said, if I stay inside this box, life will be okay. And even though you were miserable a great deal of that time, you stayed in the box because it felt safe. It felt, at least you knew it. It was familiar. You didn't have to go into some unknown. So yeah, let's stay there. You can't do that anymore. See, the way that it's handled you, the way that your ego, you created it so you can get out of it anytime you want, but the way that you created this ego to handle you is that whenever you decide to make a move and get out of the box, then you will experience fear, or you will experience doubt. You'll experience all of those things because then you won't move because the ego has won now, because you get to stay right here. Even though you're miserable and just not happy and don't have everything you want, you'll stay there because you know it. That's what your world has done. See, we're taking it to the bigger picture now. That's what your world has done. And that's why you see the division. Everybody is trying to fight to stay where they are. That's not evolving. And you know that. Each of you, you know that. And so as you begin to awaken to that brilliance that is within you, because everybody has it. Every single person is born with it. It just expresses in different ways, but you all have it. And once you accept that, wow, the changes you will experience, the peace, even in the chaos, you will experience peace. Because you know you will have from a greater vision, you will know what's happening. And you'll know that all that's going on is that I'm stepping up to my purpose, each of you. Each of you came to do that thing that you thought about saving the world, you did. But you just decided this time you were going to do it with more people because it'll be bigger, you see. And that's a shift that your world is going into as well. And you've seen that. You had this separatist world that you lived in, and it was all so lopsided. And it had gone on like that forever. And then there needed to be a big change. This is the restructuring. And this is why you are here. And we couldn't be happier that you are. Because again, we know that if we keep talking to you, if we keep giving you this information, just like we did with Roger all these years, if we keep giving it to you, you will move through it, you will start to break through, and you will start to become the person you were meant to be. And when that occurs, when more of that occurs, you will see your world start to be completely different than what it is now. And we will hold that belief because we know it's true. We know it will occur. But as we said, it's not guaranteed, which is why we must continue to do our work as you must continue to do yours. And we will do that. We would like to open now for questions. And if anyone has anything that has come up that you either want more clarification, or if there was something you want to express, something that resonated for you, whatever it might be, you have the opportunity to unmute yourself and ask us your question or share your remark or whatever it might be. Do we have anything?
This week, I saw my friend fall into the same negativity that I've, observed in myself with, long periods of depression. And my first impulse was to refer him to you for a consultation. And I've had a couple people say that their lives are wasted. And then part of me said, well, why aren't you able to do the things that Roger does for people, which is active listening and sharing your life? And then I realized that I was dragging my feet somewhat.
Right. You are, because you are. And that was the point. That was why Dan came in yesterday, you see, was to show all of you, to remind you that you could do what he did if you step out of the way, because you also have a greater understanding. All of you here have a greater understanding than many, and you know that, and you've seen it. That's why you can recognize someone who's in depression, because depression is only a denial of the self in some way. It always is that. It may take on different forms. You may create it in different ways, but it's always a denial of the self, because your actual self can never be depressed because you have everything. Why would you be depressed? You know that you have everything and you have capability and talent. There would be no reason to ever be depressed. And so you have this awareness and your presence. And even though you didn't say those words, your presence already helped that person move through the next part of it. Because your energy, we're telling you again, your power is in your thoughts and your intention and how you're using that. And so your intention of helping this person caused that to happen. You'll see it eventually. You will see it show up. Do we have more?
Right in my hand.
Yes.
Okay. A lot of things you said today really resonated with me, especially because I have such a strong habit of negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
If I do anything that is out of what you're supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly saying, God, you're such a dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
God, you're having a really blonde day today. Or sometimes they're worse than that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's become such a part of who I am that it's hard for me to think of not doing it anymore. And yet I want to stop doing it because I hate it. I hate the way it makes me feel. I hate everything about it. So I'm really glad you spoke about that today, because that really helped me see things in a different way.
And you will stop doing it, because this awareness now, this idea, those words coming out of your body, coming out of your space right now, says that you will not forget this. And so this is so wonderful. Thank you so much for bringing this to all of us. See, because as you make this acknowledgement, others heard that. Others made that acknowledgement. And what has happened in this instant, you released a little bit of your self-judgment, and you gave permission to everyone who's hearing this to do the same. And now you have taken another step in your evolutionary journey. And you can feel that right now.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I do have one more thing that it took me a long time to realize this about myself, but from the time I was a kid in elementary school, I always tried to present myself as very competent, intelligent, capable, and confident of doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably wasn't until like 20 years ago, and I'm 60, almost 65 now, 20 years ago, that I realized that I really was that person.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a revelation to me. So it really, when you talked about that, it just kind of made me think about that journey that I took to finally realize that, yeah, I can do these things. And I really am that person.
Yes.
So important to me. Thank you.
Yes. And you're having this memory now because you're going to do something with it. And this is so wonderful. It is informing your entire life, because you are one of the ones who is going to offer this understanding to so many more who are coming now. And your age is perfect to do this, because you have the experience, you have the validity, you can show them, you can see, because most people will walk through their lives, Roger's done this, where you don't appreciate who you were. But to have that memory and to come at it when you're older, That's powerful, because now you're going to figure out a way, you're going to fashion a way to talk about it, and you just did it today, that is going to help your evolution continue, but also so many others will be given permission to own who they are because of the life you have lived. And we're grateful for you to have done that.
Thank you very much. You're making me cry. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a situation last week where I was talking to my next door neighbour, and what I said seemed to really help her, and we both got goosebumps. And afterwards I was thinking, there's so much that I'm imperfect in and not dealing with in my life, but it just seems crazy that I can still help someone even from my position of imperfection. And how do we move past that self-judgment?
When you start offering the same help that you're giving to the others to yourself. That's why you're doing it. You are offering compassion and understanding to others because you wanted to give it to yourself. And your offering alerts you to the awareness that you have that within you. You've just been withholding it from you. That's what's going on. We each will use this period of time to work through our, as I said, your individual, your life journey, your evolutionary journey. And what that is something that you've carried around. And so now that will start to express in different ways. So when you find yourself really needing to help other people and cause them to feel better and take care of them and feel wonderful, it's because you want it for yourself. And you chose this lifetime to start to give it to yourself. So we're so grateful that you're doing that, because you'll be aware of it now. You'll be aware of the times that you're withholding that love and compassion from yourself that you are willing to give to other people. And each of you have done that to a certain degree. And sometimes it shows up as your roles. You know, you're being parents, you're being caretakers, you're being all of that. But you're not recognizing that in your taking care of someone else, you're taking care of yourself. But you've not directed it to yourself enough, because that's the most powerful thing you can do. The most powerful thing any of you can do is to turn that love internally, is to just feel it, just go within and allow it to envelop you. You will be amazed at how you start to operate in the world. And the compassion that you feel now will be even grander. And you will give it to more and more and more people. So we're pleased that this shift is happening, because that is a shift. For you to come to the awareness of that, it will cause now a greater shift within your experience.
That's the crazy thing, because that's exactly what we talked about. Because this lady, she's very religious, and you know, we're talking about how God's love is so encompassing, and if we don't express that love for ourselves also, then we're rejecting the love that's being given to us.
Right.
And then it's just crazy, because afterwards I was still doubting myself. It's like,
And
I guess,
and what
yeah.
just happened now, your guides just gave you another hit. You see, we wanted you all to understand this, because we will say things and you will have heard them. They will seem like remembrances. There will be things that you have just recently experienced. And again, that is to give you this greater sense of belief in your journey and why you're here and your importance. And we want to say that to each of you again at this time, your importance of being here. And each one of you, we need you to understand this too. This is why yesterday when Dan came through, the one thing that he said to us was, look at the difference in the ages and the people in this room. There were 60 some people in the room, and they were all different ages. It didn't matter, because you're each doing things in your timeline, in your time trajectory, that will serve your soul's development, your soul's expansion, your soul's evolvement. And that is that of the world as well, every time.
Yeah, this is really cool because I think I'm also experiencing that when we stop judging ourselves, then we can acknowledge things that we're good at or getting better at. And then we can use those things because we're not judging that we're not good enough to use what we have.
Right. We are going to give you another example because, again, we use Roger's life to show all of you because he's agreed to do this, and it took a long time for him to agree to this as well. But we will show you because which is why we brought up 2000. You see, because he saw things that came through him that he had created that he couldn't connect to. He couldn't understand the value of them. You each have done that, and then we took him back to see things that he thought came through us. But no, it came through him because it was earlier. You see, he had no conscious awareness of our existence and our sending information to him. Like many of you do not have that conscious awareness of your guides, but they are there. They're always there. And so we took him back to show him that even before we came through, he was connected beyond that. He was receiving information. Each of you are. You've done it since birth. You've always done it. And so we showed him something that he began writing in 1983 that could very easily be published today. That he thought that couldn't possibly be valuable because it came from just him. You see, that's what you each have done. And we're here to show you, to help you move through that, because it's just a part of, you're just moving to a new level of your lives right now. But again, you're doing it in a big way, and that we're more pleased about than anything.
Hi.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this. It feels like everyone's here to hear what the message was for me.
Yes. And thank you.
Oh, thanks for showing up, you guys, because that was 100% my message for me. What I'm finding is as I allow myself more freedom to be this part of me I gave up on a long time ago, I'm on a huge roller coaster of, wow, this is really cool. Why not? I might as well just fulfill my soul's dream. What I feel like is part of me. And then I have mad amounts of angst and pain. It just sits in my solar plexus and it sits in my gut and it tells me it's not worth it. Forget it, that nothing is worth. There's like huge amounts of sadness and depression.
Mm-hmm.
Where I just want to lay down and say,
no, you've just, right in this moment, you have just moved through so much of your gunk, and we are so pleased, and you've helped so many other people by doing that, because you've just proved something that we wanted all of you to understand, which is why we said, doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, you're going to hear something here that will resonate for you all, because now you're seeing that you're finding your tribes, as you like to think of them. You're finding your groups that give you more comfort and solace. So you've each have done this. So no, we are pleased. You have just moved through so much of what we are bringing to all of you. And we would invite you to go to the site that any advice for today that Roger so dutifully maintained, and look for, all of you should do this actually, and look for the messages that would say, why not you? If not you, then who? Each of you do these things. You think somebody else is supposed to do the thing that is your feeling, and that's what causes your depression, and that's what causes your sadness. That's what causes your all of that, because you're resisting it. If you remember, those of you who were here in the beginning, okay, we're going to do this because you each have a little bit of this happening, and this will help to bring this question into bearing as well. In 1989, we started with a message when we did our first reading here with you, and we wanted Roger to show this message because he never published it for anyone. And it was this conflict that he has existed with, and you have as well. You have this thing in you that you think is powerful, but then you fear letting it out, because maybe you'll do something bad with it. Maybe you'll hurt someone. Maybe you'll do something crazy with it if you let it out. And that's never true. You see, and then that's the opposite for you would be if you let yourself out, you would just give things to people, you would be so generous and you would be all of that. But then you have this knowledge of what's in them. You have this intellectual feeling of what you might have, but then you won't let it out. And so then the awareness of that, the intellectual awareness that you have that you're holding it back, causes friction. And then the friction turns into restriction. And then restriction gives you depression. You see? And so then we just stay right there because we can't move if we're depressed. We can't do anything. We can't get up. But each of you are moving through this. And this is why we put together these groups. And we're going to keep doing it because we know how helpful they are for you. Because this holding hands is going to be a really great thing for all of us to do. You see? Because now we feel more powerful. Collectively, we will be more powerful. This entire period, as we've told you, is about causing a greater expansion, which will only come through coming together. There is more power in coming together, and you see the division. So that would tell you why you're here. And that division exists within you, each of you. And as you, little by little, bring that together, you'll see it reflected in your lives. Because first of all, it's going to change your lives individually in huge ways once you start doing that. And then it will start to reflect into your world. We're saying that's how it works. The world that you see that exists now is a result of each of you not being willing to own some part of you. We can't make it any more simple than that. That's what's happening. The division that you see that exists is within you, but that's a good thing because now you know. And now you know what you're working on. Now you know what you're accomplishing. And again, we're going to keep helping. You must understand, we're all doing this together. We're saying that because causing Roger to come here and do this is allowing him to move through his restrictions as he's showing you, telling you about yours. That's how it's supposed to work, you see. You are meant to be reflections of one another so that you can discover who you are. And we're going to keep loving you till you get there. We're going to keep doing it because we know how vital this is at this point, how vital you are, and why you are on the earth and why you made this grand decision to be here. And the centuries and eons later that are going to be so thankful for your existence. Do we have more? We have one last piece of advice, because there will be more that you each will witness in your world, and we want you to remember what your role is, what your job is. And if you can go to our messages and search that title, please do your job now. Each of you will know what that means. And that job is you coming in and stepping into who you are. And so as you are seeing what happens in your world, we want you to remember that doing your job is going to be love. You came here to love yourself. You came here to be loved. And as you start doing that, that will be your job. And you'll see how that will be reflected not only in your life, but in the world. We are complete.
Roger, could I say one more thing, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt what you're saying, but I just wanted you to know that before this session started, my blood pressure was really high. I was feeling really stressed out. And right now I feel so calm and wonderful and loved that I just can't believe it. And I just wanted to say thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. It's you are making such a difference, and you will come to see this. You're making such a difference.
I'd want to say the energy of us all coming together is so powerful and so affirming. It's one of the things I look forward to every week because it helps me as we go through the week to get to the next one with all the challenges that are happening.
Thank you for that, because now you have just okay. What you've done is you've just made a decision for Roger, because he tries to back out. You know how you keep trying to back out of what you're trying to do in your life? You know, no, I can't do it. I can't go there. He would have done that too. But see, but when he knows that there's a greater mission, a greater purpose that he has to do it, then he gets out of his way. And we're saying that because we want you to understand that's what you each are doing. That is it. We know the resistance is there, but then someone will say something like that and we'll carry you along. That's what will happen.
I would also like, sorry, I would just like to remind everybody that you need to look after yourself physically as well as mentally at this time. So you need to nurture yourself and look after yourself and do what makes you feel completely good, not short-term good, but that's going to nurture you so you can continue this journey.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Thank you.
Thank you all. It was so nice first timing it with you. It's such a welcoming group, and thank you, Wilhelm and Roger, for this beautiful information that is really timely and empowering. So thank you.
Well, you're a fast starter. Congratulations, you found us. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We all are starting to help each other more than we ever imagined we would.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It is.
You know, I just had an idea that we should probably try and connect even further than once a week somehow. I don't know.
I think we have an energetic connection.
Yes.
Like what we're doing. And it doesn't matter how often you physically connect, that energetic connection has now started. So that's something that doesn't break.
Yeah, I don't know, I'll figure this out. I have a lot coming up. Yeah, I'll let you know. We'll definitely, next week is scheduled, and then yeah, I'll see where we're led next. And yeah, it will be great. Thank you all so much. This was really wonderful. We're doing great stuff.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Roger. Really.
Thank you.
You don't know how much I appreciate you.
Thank
And
you.
clarity, my friend.
Yes, yes. All of you.
Yes. Yes. But it's really clarity because we live in the same town.
What town do you live in?
We live in a little town called Hermiston, Oregon, that actually is the biggest town in Eastern Oregon at 19,900 or 634 or something like that. But our town's getting much bigger. When we were kids, it was only like 4,000 people.
Wow.
Things are changing. All right. Yeah. Thank you all so very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you next week or before. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.